Welcome to Model Citizen. I'm Conor Kennedy Ryan. This podcast will peel back the curtain to show the who's, the what's, and the why's of the modeling industry. Today, my guest is Daphne Velghe, a Belgian model who came to America to make her way and became a muse for brands such as Christian Siriano. She also surprised us all by secretly submitting herself to MasterChef Belgium, which she then won. I'm so excited to chat with her today. Daphne, I'm so excited to welcome you to Model Citizen.
Amazing.
Thank you
I'm
for
so
coming
happy
today.
to be here. This is super exciting, and this is my first podcast.
I love that.
No,
Well,
actually, hold on, my second, but I was super nervous for the first one, so
the
yeah.
first one sounds very forgettable.
Yeah, I think it was also over Zoom, like it wasn't like face-to-face, which I think it's harder to connect or really get into things,
For sure.
you know, so I'm happy to do this in real
So
life.
we'll call this 2.0.
Exactly, 2.0.
We've worked together for a while now.
Yeah.
We've been getting to know each other. I guess I wanted to start off and find out a little bit about your journey from Belgium to New York. How did you end up here?
I mean, I smile when I think about, when you ask me this, like I smile just because it kind of brings me back to when I was this little girl in Belgium. I was obsessed with Sex and the City, with Friends, all these movies that were set in New York. And it was always this place that kind of spoke to my imagination. You know, this place where there's a lot of opportunity and it's like exciting and everything's glamorous and fabulous. And, you know, you go and have cosmopolitans in your high heels. So I think I always wanted to come and like see New York, but I had this feeling like, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like, let's see. And when I first got scouted as a model, I would say like my family, they were a little hesitant. They were like not sure if it was a career. So I went to high school, then university, and I slowly was like able to convince them to do like little jobs in Paris or London because it's like a train ride away. You know, it's like it's an easier sell to your family. And then time and time went by, but like I wanted to go to New York really bad, really, really bad. Like it was like one of my dreams. But how do you get there? Because you also have to meet the agents. You have to like get the opportunity. So I knew they were never going to allow me to fly to New York to meet with agencies. So it was kind of like a timing thing, like when is it going to happen? Until like one day there was a new agency and they told me, okay, Daphne should come to New York, like a few weeks. And I remember I was so excited, but at the same time, I was so nervous because I think I had built it up in my head that it was going to be fabulous and glamorous and all the beautiful people are there and successful people. And I was like, wait, what am I going to do? I'm not going to fit in, you know? So it was just a very exciting process. And I vividly remember sitting on the airplane, those tiny little windows, and you kind of see the city like disappear out of nowhere because the buildings are so high. And I remember looking at it and I was so intimidated, like, what am I going to do there? What am I going to do?
So your dream came true, but that's
Yes.
also scary.
Yes, it was exciting and scary at the same time. And I guess I didn't really know what to expect, but because there was a lot of buildup towards going there, I was also able to just enjoy that moment because it is a blessing when you're young and you're traveling to get the opportunity to go to these places. So I was like, even if it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out for me as a model, I'm still going to New York. I'm still going to meet casting directors and fashion people and hair and makeup people. So I should just enjoy the ride. I think that was like very much a feeling that I had.
That is amazing advice. I see often models who come to New York for the first time, and similarly to what you're talking about, they've been waiting for years and there's so much buildup. And so then they arrive and they'll start at MUSE and they're like, okay, well, what happens now? It's like, okay, well, now we're at ground zero. So we're going to start slowly. And it's hard when they've been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
And you know that New York has so much opportunity and it's all around you. But of course, you're not going to be able to access that on week one.
Yeah, I think you have to be patient and you have to find like the right moment when things happen for you. But while you're also going through that process as a younger model, was also enjoy that you get this opportunity, that you get to travel and you get to meet all these amazing people. Like, what other 18-year-old would have all these opportunities? So I think whenever I get stuck, or you feel frustrated, or you're impatient, or I try to remind myself to also enjoy the process. Because maybe in 5 or 10 years, you're going to look back at this and you're like, damn it, I lived in New York and I should have made the most of being in that city. Yeah.
I think that's great advice. What do you remember from your first year of modeling in New York, or even just adapting to the city?
I just remember, for me, it felt like a hurricane. So many things were happening at once, so many castings. I didn't know the city, the metro system. Everything is very fast paced, and it was very overwhelming. I remember coming home to my little hotel room and I was just exhausted, like doing everything by foot, meeting everyone. It was very exciting, but it was also overwhelming because it's so fast paced. Everything is moving fast. You go get a coffee, they're like, what do you want? And I'm like still looking at the board trying to figure out what all these special drinks are that they have in America, So everything was very, very fast. And I thought that was amazing, but I wasn't used to that at all. In Belgium, life is much slower. It's more predictable.
The opposite.
Yeah, literally the opposite. So for me, that was just a big adjustment, trying to also decompress after the day and try to relax, because I couldn't switch my brain off. You know what I mean? It was very intense. I would like go home and then like relive the entire day of doing the castings. But at the same time, it also gives you the opportunity to learn a lot because things are going so fast. So 1 week in New York, I felt like I had the experience that would have taken me months in Europe or months in my home country.
It's funny you say that, because I always think it's such an advantage to come from Europe and to model in those cities and arrive in New York more prepared.
Yeah.
How did you see yourself versus American models who were at the same point?
Yeah, I guess that's true, because I had traveled to Paris for modeling and London and Milan before I arrived in New York. So I kind of knew what people there were looking for in terms of like going to castings and like having a model walk. Like I practiced those things already. So that was a big advantage over like other models that were American that had only, just arrived in New York. But at the same time, I feel like the market in New York was cooler or more sleek or more, the attitude was a little different. And at first I didn't really know how that influenced me, if that makes sense. Back then, like everyone wanted to go to the Alexander Wang casting. It was very, you were black and it was more grungy. And then let's say you go to an Oscar de la Renta, it's more like the castings and what people were looking for was a little different. And that was new to me. Like that, the American market, let's put it that way, like hair and makeup. It's very subtle, but it's different than the way agents and clients and hair and makeup people see models as in Europe, in my opinion.
Was there a moment that you can remember where you realized New York was going to be your home? Yeah, I mean, I think it's your home now.
It is my home now. And I try to remember when the moment was where I was like, this is the place I want to live. I think it definitely, after the first visit, I was amazed by it. It was incredible. It spoke to my imagination. I was overwhelmed, but I was amazed by it. And I think by coming more often and being able to like get to know the market more, I was able to find a place where I didn't feel as overwhelmed and also enjoy it more. And I just loved the way people interacted or think here. They were always, if you would share a story, people tend to be like, wow, that's amazing. And people are not afraid to try new things. And I really loved that. And I think the moment where I actually felt like, oh, maybe I can live here was when I rented a city bike, because in Belgium, we bike and cycle everywhere. And I rented a city bike and I was like, oh, this just feels like home, but better. Like,
so the bike changed you?
Not the bike, but it was just overall, I think the bike was the moment where I was like, it's a place where I like being, but also it somehow feels like home. And that came over time. Yeah. I don't know if there was an exact moment where like one day I woke up. I did feel this urge of like, I want to dig deep in New York and see if I really try and focus on this place as a model, what that will do for my career. I do remember calling my mom and telling her, I'm going to be in New York for at least 1 year and I'm going to scrape till the bottom and I'm going to really give it a go. And she was like, okay.
And how many years ago was that?
Now, I think 7 years ago. Yeah.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
When I look at your Instagram, a part of me does see Sex in the City. It looks very glamorous. You go to a lot of events. You
I'm
do
living
PR.
the dream.
First of all, how do you approach your social media? Because I see that it's growing. I know you met with Courtney, who runs our digital department at MUSE. How do you view the medium, and what's your strategy?
I think the medium can be overwhelming because you can take it so many places, and there's definitely moments where I feel overwhelmed, where I'm like, I should be doing this or posting that, or it also takes time to curate it or think about where you want it to take you in a way. But I think it's an amazing tool to get in touch with people in and out the industry. So it's an amazing tool to connect with hair and makeup people, photographers, creatives. You can even reach out to them and propose projects. And most of the time, if you reach out in a way where you're very polite and you admire someone else's work, I think it's very rare for someone to take that the wrong way. So there's a lot of pros to it. You can stay in touch. You can see what other people are doing. You can be inspired by it. I think for me right now, with also Victoria, my manager, who works also closely with you guys, is that right now the industry has shifted so much from traditional modeling to also introducing the whole digital sphere of like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, where our modeling portfolio goes way beyond what's just on the website. It is also your social media as a representation of you as a model, but also you as a personality. So it gives you the opportunity to showcase more than just your looks. And I think that's something I'm trying to take advantage of in a way, where I want to try and bring my personality, have it come across more, so clients are like, oh, okay, great, we relate to this or that, or our customer relates to this or that. So therefore, we want to work with Daphne, if that makes sense.
How does that affect your approach to events and to PR?
I think events are such a great way, again, to put yourself out there, to, dive in fashion and dress up and get ready and connect with people that are in the same industry as you. And sometimes the event, you'll even meet someone that's not super directly related to maybe fashion. Maybe it's more of a tech thing, but you can always learn from that, and you can always learn from those relationships. And I think it's fun to also see like what else is out there and put yourself out there. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you go to an event, you have a strategy or a thought in mind, or do you just go and see what happens?
I used to get really, really nervous having to go to an event alone. It is brutal if you've never gone to an event, because you're like, what am I going to do there? And sometimes I still dread going to an event alone. Like, let's say I am not able to bring a +1 because the guest list is tight, or I had a +1, but the person can't come, or they're traveling to get a job. So when you have to go alone, at first you're like, oh, this is horrible. Like, hi, I'm Daphne. It feels like first day of school, but you don't know any of your classmates, right? Plus there's cameras and everyone looks glamorous. So then I feel really insecure. But I think actually the events that I've gone to alone are usually the events where I network the most and I meet the most interesting people, because you have to step out of your comfort zone. You see someone that maybe, I don't know, you've worked with once many years ago, and you have a conversation. What have you been doing now? And so. And then, I don't know, there's someone else and they're like, hey, let's take a photo, or like, can you help me take a photo? And I'm like, sure, can you take mine? Like, it's a very organic way to meet someone. And in the end of the day, everyone's there with maybe the same feeling as you. Everyone's there also to connect or to, expand their horizon when it comes to like people that they know and they interact with. So if you approach it like that, it's less scary. You know what I mean?
I totally agree. In my own career, when I stopped thinking so much about the point of the event or what would happen is when I started to relax.
Yeah.
And then you open yourself up to all types of people.
Yeah.
And to your point, some of them aren't even in our industry. Some of them are.
Yeah.
Some of them you could work with someday. But sometimes when you let go of any agenda and you just enjoy it and see where it takes you, those are the ones that I had the best time.
Totally. I think it's, you're not in the mood every day to network, and that's also okay. Like some days I'm like bubbly and I want to chat to people, and then some days I'm like, I'm more tired, or you know what I mean? And
I can't imagine you not bubbly. Is that true?
It happens. It happens some days. So yeah, just make the most of it. And like, again, don't forget that it's also a privilege to go there and you should have fun.
I think of you as so high energy. Do you feel like that personality type, there's a time when you really have to manage self-care or have some quiet time? Like, how do you regulate yourself?
I guess I was always quite high energy and very talkative in high school. It was always like, Daphne, be quiet. Daphne, shut up. Like, you're too loud. You're too, like, calm down. So sometimes I do get overwhelmed where, let's say, my agenda, I'm like, do you want to come to this? I'm like, sure, sounds amazing. And then sometimes I overcommit. And then on the day of, I'm like, oh man, I like was just on set and then I had to like, I don't know, now I have to go to this event, but I'm really tired. Because then you have to like kind of dress up because, you want to look the part. And then sometimes you're just not in the mood for it. So yeah, sometimes I have to like scale back a little. But again, I would say that I'm on the very social, outgoing, energized side of, the people. So it's easier for me to go out and like do that and turn it on because it comes natural, actually.
I want to talk a little bit about some of your relationships in the industry.
Yeah.
So, of course, one name that comes to mind is Christian Siriano.
Yeah.
How many times have you worked together?
I've lost count, which is, it's a privilege, honestly, but I don't know how many like projects we've done together. We've done so many shows and then shoots, and then when he collaborates with other brands, like I've been involved and which is really, really, really fun. I think that's a great stage if, you're working with a client for a long time, that you have a connection more than just professional. We also get along. He is so funny. He's so funny that like whenever we work together, it never really feels like work.
Do you remember when you first started working together? Was it a connection right away?
I vividly remember our first shoot. It was a lookbook, and it was a collection. I'm like, it's a very colorful collection. Most of his collections are colorful. But I remember that shoot in particular. And then when I saw him later for a casting for his show, he remembered me. I was like, oh, you shot my lookbook. And that was when we really connected on the shoot. I think I was a bit more quiet still. I was also younger. But it was when I went back in for the casting, and he was very surprised how much I remembered of the collection. I was like, oh, yeah, there was this beautiful dress with this and that. And he was like, oh, yeah, amazing. And then since then, I guess I've been doing his shows. And, yeah, more projects came alive after that as well. So.
Well, I think not every model is actually interested in the clothes, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think when you are and you're interested in those details, of course, that is a great way to connect with the man or woman who created them and the vision they had. Yeah. And I think also it helps you to bring out their vision when you're working together.
Personally, I think it's important as a model to feel a connection with the clothes or whatever product it is that you're selling, because I want to know who is the woman that the designer sees. Who is she? Who is buying? Like, what's the vision? Like, what's the inspiration almost? Like, what is the woman that you are seeing when you're designing? Like, who's your dream woman? And then I want to look at the clothes and be like, okay, how can I interpret that and bring the clothes to life? That is, for me, modeling, to like as much as you can, like really trying your best. So I think when you can connect with the designer and you can really understand what he had or she had envisioned, and you can bring that to life, that's amazing. It's also an honor because you forget as a model, you're on set just that day to wear the clothes for a shoot or for a fashion show. But they've been working on these collections for weeks and months, and there's been, different samples made and remade. And so in the end of the day, when you finally have it on, so much work went into that. And I respect that. And therefore, I think I want to do my max to really bring that to life.
When you're behind the scenes, as you've been so many times, you are cast, but then you also see the casting process.
Yeah.
What have you learned from that that's affected your career?
Well, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen sometimes. So, you will have a casting director, you will have a client, you will have stylists, there's many people need to align on a vision for you to be picked out. There's many screenings almost. Sometimes there is a pre-casting and then a casting and then a fitting, and everyone needs to be having the same vision in order to pick you. So whenever that happens, I know that it's a great moment, like the stars have aligned basically. But also if I'm not picked, then that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't great, but maybe, one or two people wanted to take it a different direction, or maybe, they loved you, but the shoes didn't really go like your shoe size, like those shoes aren't right for the look. So they want to pick a girl who has a smaller feet who fits those shoes. Sometimes it's not you, but it's just, not all the elements were there for you to make it come to life, to make it less personal. Because otherwise, when you don't get a booking or options come off or you don't get picked, it can be mentally quite tough to understand why. I remember earlier on in my career, I would ask, why? What do you mean? Why didn't I get booked? And half the time, well, actually not half the time, 99% of the time, you don't get a why. You're just not booked. So you have to find a way to deal with that.
I mean, that's something I've definitely seen when, especially non-American models come to New York, and they'll go on these castings and they'll say, the casting was so great. The client said, I'll see you soon. So I know I'm getting the job. And it's hard to explain to them, well, first of all, they're being polite and professional and social, and they probably will see you soon. But maybe not for that specific project. But to your point, there could be all different reasons.
I relate to that so much. I remember the first few days of castings, I was like, I booked them all. Because people are so nice and so chatty that if they do that in Paris, they really must like you. You know what I mean? I think there's more small talking here, and I had to get used to that. So now I know I'm only booked if I get a confirmation and I'm booked. And actually, even when you get a confirmation, sometimes that is still...
You have to be there on site.
You have to be there. I always say you've only walked the show when you come off the runway.
Yes.
Not before, not even in lineup. No, when you've walked the show.
Well, I remember one show, I used to go to Marc Jacobs' show every season, and I had a bunch of models in the show, and someone had finished hair and makeup, and they pulled her out of the show because they cut the look a minute before the lineup. So then you think, oh my God, to your point, until you finished, you haven't done it.
I've heard many stories, and I've also been in a situation where they booked two models for the same look. It was a miscommunication with the casting director, and so I had my hair and makeup done, and they were like, we're really sorry, but you're not booked for the show. And I was like, what? So you have to learn how to deal with that. Yeah.
Let's talk about MasterChef. To me, to have the confidence to try something completely different that seems against all odds, and then go ahead and win it is really a flex.
Yeah.
How did you end up on this cooking show? How did it happen?
I mean, sometimes when I forget about it and someone asks me, then I remind myself, I actually don't know what the hell I was doing on a cooking show, but it was a casting director who does a lot of TV in Belgium. He had reached out to me in the past about a few other TV projects. And it never worked out. I think COVID happened or it wasn't the right fit. And so when he reached out about the cooking show, I just had this idea that it probably wasn't going to happen because, you know, as a model, you're used to having options and then things don't go through. So I just basically was like, yes, sure, submit me, propose me to the channel. Let's see, thinking it was not going to happen. And then, of course, it did happen. And then I was not nervous at first, but then once I really was informing myself into what it was that I would be doing on the TV show, and I was looking at all the previous seasons, then I started to freak out fully because I was like, wow, I am really asked to cook. It's not just, hey, I made a toast with, like, no, it was like they really challenge you. So then I had this idea, okay, if I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to try the full 100%. Because what's the point in traveling to Belgium, booking out for modeling jobs, being there, to then only do it halfway? Like, I don't like doing things halfway. I like to feel that I really gave it my all, not to win, but just for myself. So I know, okay, I gave it my all. And then I took a few cooking classes. I practiced with friends that I knew were good hosts for cooking. Like, let's say I'd gone over for dinner. I think I called every single person that I thought was a good chef and I asked them for tips. They would come over, we would like make dinner together. I was looking at videos on Instagram and YouTube, just informing myself. And I think this whole new world opened up that I didn't know. Like, I slowly got kind of passionate about it because it's fun, because the more you learn about cooking, the more ways you can take it. And I guess then my competitive side came out.
I think that's really what's happening.
And I will admit, I do not like to lose. And I always want to feel like I gave it my all. I guess I'm okay with losing if I feel like I gave it my all. But I hate losing if I feel like I was only at 20% when I could have been at 100. I think it's just a waste of my time and other people's time. Because if I'm not really going to try, they should have another candidate. You know what I mean? So it was more like, I'm going to just seize the opportunity. And then I just fully immersed myself. And the further I got, the further I wanted to get. I got greedy. I really wanted to make it as far as I could. And it ended up giving me the trophy, like that mentality. So, which was amazing. I think when they announced that I won, it took me a week or two before I realized that I won. Like, it didn't sink in at first.
Well, also, if it's not something in your vision board for your life, and then it happens and you do it, I'm sure it's very surreal. Yeah,
it felt very surreal. But it was also fun because I think along the way, because they make you very stressed and nervous because obviously, like, that makes good TV. You know, they want to see you lose your shit, if I may say that, you know. They want to see you drop flour and it's all over your face. Like, it creates good drama for TV. So because you're in these situations that are high stress, you also learn a lot about yourself, because sometimes I would react in a way that I wasn't so confronted with. Because also you're on camera, it's filmed, and then right after the challenge, you get interviewed and they ask you about, like, why did you do this and why did you chose that and why did you react like this? And it was very reflective in a way. I know it sounds weird. I never thought that being part of a TV show would take me to that place, but it really did. I learned a lot about myself and how I deal with difficulty.
Does it open your mind to other TV opportunities?
I think I realized that I really, really enjoyed it. At first, I didn't know if I was going to enjoy doing TV, but I really, really enjoyed it. It was also a fabulous team. They were amazing. So I'm definitely open to do more. I would actually love to do that. Yeah.
I mean, you have amazing experience to have been on that show, and even just the journey, and then also to win. I feel like it's pretty unique.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really, really happy that I got to, like, experience all of that. Yeah. It was a very different experience to modeling because, again, like, I'm so used to being on camera to sell a product or to look beautiful, and then I'm cooking and I'm really stressed and I'm, like, looking down and I'm hyper focused because, like, I don't want to lose. You know, it's like my life depends on it when I'm, like, cleaning the plate. And then I would look up and there was this camera like really close, zoomed in. And I'm like, oh my God, I have a double chin. And I would like all of a sudden like snap out of it and go into like model zone. And then the team is like, what are you doing? Like just focus on your plate. And so that was a very new thing for me to be on camera, but it wasn't about looking perfect the whole time. It was about being real. And that was a little strange, especially the first episode. It was like, it made me really nervous to be on camera and not to be able to control everything, how it was. Like, you know, you can't go and look on the monitor. No, you're on a reality cooking show. Like, that's not what's happening. And that was a bit strange for me to let go of that.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing what's ahead for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being part of, inviting me to be part of your podcast. I really enjoyed it too. It's nice also to get to know you more.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Conor.